Hi, in this tutorial I'll show you how to use a VyOS router with EVE-NG. I'm using the community version of EVE-NG, but the same principle applies to the professional version. The prerequisites to this tutorial is that you have EVE-NG, PuTTY and WinSCP installed. Firstly, let's download the VyOS image from vyos.net. Go to the nightly builds page and download the latest version. I've already downloaded it. Next, we'll create a console session to the EVE-NG server. Enter the IP address of your EVE-NG server. In my case, it's .12. I'm just going to change the font size so it's a little easier to read. Okay, log in as root, enter your password. Now traverse to the following directory: Unit Lab, Add-ons, QEMU. And in here we're going to create a folder for the VyOS ISO that we just downloaded. So enter to make a new directory and the name of the directory you want to create. In our case, I'm going to name it exactly the same as the file name without the extension. Now connect to the EVE-NG server with your WinFCP and copy the VyOS ISO across to the directory you just downloaded. So we want to connect to log in as root again. Enter the password. So now navigate to the root of the EVE-NG server and then go to the same path that we just previously went to. So OPT, Unit Lab, Add-ons, QEMU, and we'll see the directory we created earlier, VyOS, and we're going to copy that ISO there, just dragging it across. Now go back to the console session, and if we go into the directory, we should see the ISO there. We now need to rename that to cd-rom.iso. We do that by using the mv command, so mv move VyOS use tab completion, and we want to rename it to cd-rom.iso. So if we look again, we've renamed the file to .iso. .cd-rom.iso. Now we need to create a virtual disk by running the following command. So opt QEMU /bin /QEMU -img, and we want to create a virtual hard disk in the QCOW2 format. We want to name it virtioa.qcow, and we want to give it a size of 10 gig. So now if we look in the folder, we should have two files, a virtual hard disk and VyOS ISO. So the next thing we need to do is log into the EVE-NG GUI. Enter our IP address of our EVE-NG server in the browser. Log in as admin. Change it to HTML5 console. And what we need to do is create a test lab so we can install VyOS on the virtual hard disk drive we created earlier. So create a new lab. And we're going to add a node. If we scroll down to VyOS, and just accept the defaults. Now if we start this router, if we double click on it, it should open up a console in a separate tab. So now we just have to wait for it to boot up. Once it's booted up, log into the VyOS with the default username and password, which is the username is VyOS, password is VyOS. And now we need to install the actual VyOS image on the hard drive we created earlier by issuing the command install image. Accept the default yes. Press return again to accept the default, to auto partition. Return again. Enter yes to destroy all the data on the drive, that's fine. Return again. Return again. Now this we need to change to the second option. So if we just copy that, enter that in the path. I'm going to enter the same password again, just so I remember. Press enter again. Okay, don't reboot now. What we need to do now is power down the router. Okay, first close the lab and get the following information. So if we close the lab, we want to click on the lab name and cut and paste the UUID of the lab. Now go back to a console session for the EVE-NG server. And we want to go to the following directory. So cd opt unit lab tmp. And we want to go to folder 0, which is the folder for the admin user. And here we want to go to, in here, if we have a look in this folder, you might see hundreds of folders depending on how many labs you've got. I've just got one because I've only got one lab. So if we, and you'll notice that's the same as the UID number that we copied earlier. So if we go into that folder or paste the UID we had earlier, and now if we look in here, there's only one folder because we've only got one router. So if we go into that folder and type the following command, and we're going to type in qemu image, and we're going to commit the virt ioa.qcr2. And finally we want to go back to the directory where we copied the CD-ROM, the VyOS CD-ROM into. And we can now delete the CD-ROM. And there's finally one last command which we need to run, which is in the opt unit lab wrappers directory called unl_wrapper -a fix permissions. And once that's completed, we can delete the test lab we created. And now we've finally got a VyOS router we can use with EVE-NG. Okay, let's create a simple lab with 2 VyOS routers to see if everything's working. So create a new lab. Let's name it VyOS test. Add a node. Scroll down to VyOS. Change the number of nodes to add to 2. And leave everything else as default. And click save. Just move these to the center. Connect the 2 routers together. Ethernet 0 is fine for both of them. And let's start them both up. Select them both and start. Okay, it'll take about a minute or so for each one to start, but let's connect into VyOS 1 to see it booting up. Okay, log into the router with the default username of VyOS and VyOS for the password. Enter configuration mode and let's set the IP address of interface ETH0. And we'll set it to 192.168.1.1 on a /24. Commit that and let's save. Okay, let's do the same on router 2. Log in as VyOS. Let's enter configuration mode and let's set the Ethernet 0 interface address as well. We'll stick it to 192.168.1.2 this time on a /24 again. Commit the configuration, save it. Let's see if we can ping the other router. Sorry. Okay, and that's working fine. So we've got a router, VyOS router we can use with EVE-NG. Okay, I hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you for watching.